All right, welcome back. So it's just the next day. Had plenty of sleep, and let's get right back into it. So off camera, I did solder on the motor bullets. I tried filming it, or thought about filming it. It was far more trouble than it's worth, and I think soldering isn't that interesting, or at least when I do it, it's not that interesting. All right, so we have the motor loosely installed. And the last step, our very next step, is the electronic speed control. And we'll probably use those. Okay, so all it has double-sided tape. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Double-sided tape. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it included some. I've got my own, but why not use what came in the kit? There we are. So this will be for the electronic speed control and the flybarless unit. So I'll need scissors. Be right back. We have scissors. Okay. The other thing I need I just went ahead and grabbed my bag of tools that I think I may need because I want these cutters to cut the zip ties. All right, looking at the picture, what are we doing? So battery wires to the front, that's typical. And while I didn't measure this specifically, I could tell that the motor wires were a bit long. So I cut them back pretty significantly. So that's going to go on here. That space allows us to zip tie here, like so, and then the motor wires will go like that. Cool. So all we need is a bit of double-sided tape for that. The double-sided tape in this case, as in most cases, doesn't hold it on as much as it just keeps it from sliding around. So the tape keeps it from moving around and the ties keep it from falling off. So together, they're quite secure. Oh, that's a transparent tape. All right, so we'll pop that on that way. Of course, I can't get that off with my fingernail. Get that a little bit off. Okay, I need a razor blade. I thought that I had all the tools that I need. There's always one. Yeah, that is a transparent double-sided tape. Cool. All right, I don't think the position of this is super critical. Just about centered. It looks like there's plenty of room in the front where the canopy is, so I'm not worried about that necessarily. I think we'll just center it. That's a perfect fit in here. Press it on. Good enough. So there's plenty of room in this. That's a small ESC. The ESC is meant for this heli specifically, so its dimensions are just right for it. There's a channel there. And the picture shows 2. I think I'm just going to add 1. I do believe. This is a small ESC. It's not very heavy. And the way that fits in there is going against this. So it's really pulling it in tightly there. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere. In fact, that tape actually holds it on very securely. So I think we're good with that. So the extra bits we'll use for the fiberless unit. We'll set those there. Beautiful. Now with these 3 wires, interestingly I think I like that word. I watched the video earlier that I did yesterday, and I said interestingly several times. I suppose that's my inconceivable. All right. In any case, these wires, being 3, there's absolutely no particular order to connecting them. And people will always tell you, in order to reverse the rotation of the motor, switch any 2 wires. So their connection order does not matter. What I like to do, I imagine a lot of RC pilots do, is I want to connect the wires in a way that's easy for me. And then if I need to reverse the direction of the motor, I'll do it in the software. Versus switching the wires in such a way that it rotates correctly, but maybe the wires aren't as convenient. That doesn't make sense since the software can be customized. Okay, so now I want these wires to be more or less flat. With minimal effort. Okay, I guess I will use the other. Not sure how I want to do that. I think for the moment I'm going to just leave these loose. I'm not going to worry about that. There's a little gap here where the covering doesn't touch. It's unlikely they'll touch, but you know, Murphy's Law, anything's possible. So we'll think about that. So I don't want to add a bunch of zip ties and tape and all kinds of silly stuff on there. But I don't want to leave it completely loose. So we'll revisit that. For the moment, it's fine. All right, so that's the ESC. And the picture shows the wires being routed. I'm not going to do too much of that until I get all the bits in because I'm not exactly sure what will interfere. I haven't soldered on the battery connector yet, but we'll get to that. Not a problem. Okay, next we have the fiberless unit. Cool. So it says, we suggest to use bottom for easy wiring and servo removal. So they want it on the underside of the tail boom mount, like so. In the picture, it has the wires going out front, mine are coming out the bottom. Funny because it says earlier here, it actually names this fiberless unit in the instructions. I don't recall where that was. Take a moment to find that. Okay, I don't see it. I don't care that much. So we're not going to do that because the boom is not installed. And if I put tape on here, I mean, it's still moving around, so we're going to more or less skip that and move on to the main gear. I don't need to move everything out of the way, just get a little space here. Okay, main gear. That's going to be this. Box 2, bag 9. And like I said, I just woke up a little while ago. You'll most likely notice my voice much deeper. A lot of men. That happens to a lot of men, if not all. I have no idea. I've never woken up with a man, so I couldn't tell you. But I think all humans, when we wake up, our vocal cords have relaxed, our throats have relaxed, everything's relaxed. Okay, that's interesting. The main gear and the tail belt pulley is one piece. And then this retention is screwed on. And our one-way bearing is installed. As you can see, it won't go this way, but it will go that way. So this will free rotate around the main shaft when the power is cut, allowing the main blades and tail blades to continue to rotate for the purpose of auto rotation. This is going to be, what is this going to be? This is a washer with an obvious step. I know what this is. This attaches it to the main shaft. All right. This is assembled without thread lock. So that's our first bit of work today. We'll take these out and add thread lock. Oh, I thought I had it unscrewed. Well, I did have it unscrewed. It just doesn't want to come out. There we are. You'll notice these tools I'm using, one, they're rather large for this, but I'll oftentimes do this. If the screw isn't very tight, I don't need to grab the handle. I can just use my fingers on the shaft there. Makes it a bit easier, and I'm resting it on the table so I can rapidly rotate the screw in and out as needed. That guy doesn't want to let go. So, not necessarily a tip, just something I'm accustomed to doing over the years. Let go. Well, okay, it's not going to let go. You know, I don't want to take this out because it's already aligned in there. All I'm doing is adding Loctite. I'll tell you what, I will take another small screwdriver and poke that out. There. Okay, all four screws removed. Thread lock. I think next time I do a desk build, I'll come up with a way to add a bit more lighting. I can basically see, but if I'm trying to see how much thread lock I'm adding, that part's a bit dark. So you'll notice I did the two screws opposite each other. Whenever you're attaching something round together, you want to do the screws opposing each other so as to not introduce, what's the word I'm thinking of? Binding. All right, so all four screws opposing each other. I'll tighten a little bit at a time so that you don't want one all the way tight and the other loose, which could make it a bit crooked or create a bind. These don't have to be very tight. This is a nylon gear. It's very forgiving. So what you think might be a loose screw is just you crushing the nylon. All right, so equally tight all four. That's good. The one-way bearing comes fractally pre-assembled with grease and Loctite, ready to use. Good, so I don't have to do anything there. Oh, that does come out. But all the bearings and all that stuff, the shims, it's all in there. One-way system direction check. This freely rotates counterclockwise with the gear upside down. Super. Done. And now it has us, installing the boom. That's where we were last night. I took it out because I wasn't sure if that was the next step. It is. Check the belt. I have it completely straight in there, untwisted. No binds. I have it poking out there. I'll have a little pokey bit. There we are. So since I know the belt is orientated to the tail shaft pulley, meaning it's straight this way. Oh, stop. Our main shaft is going this way. The tail belt needs to go this way. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees away from me, the top away from me. I believe that's correct. Yes. So now I rotate the belt this way. The tail shaft should spin that way. And that's what I have. It mentions using a light. Check the tail belt. I was very careful in my belt alignment. I'm confident I have it only with one 90-degree twist without any kinks or binds or unwanted twists. That's a very careful operation. It has to be exact and correct. It cannot be close. Okay, note, with the tail belt in this position, insert the tail boom and finalize assembly following the next step. Loosen the tail boom clamp. Okay. Yes, yes. I have no idea how the video will show that. I just got a call and I am using my phone to record this. So we'll see how that works. I'm not going to redo this entire video. So we'll find out how that happens. All right. Good. It shows a close-up of this washer with a step down. And it's going to go on top of this auto rotation bit here. And then the shaft, we'll go through it. So we'll set that aside for the moment. We're going to put the belt over the pulley. I have not tightened the tail belt or tail boom yet because I have no idea what sort of tension we need. All right, so now I have the pulley on there. I've got a little room. I can put this spacer here. And then carefully move it into its position, lined up with the main shaft holes as it is. Okay, this motor, I need to shift it to its forwardmost position. There we go. I just had to loosen it a little bit. All right, main shaft. I've not seen anything saying that the main shaft is not symmetrical, although I do notice now there is a tiniest bit of difference between that hole in the end and this hole in the end. And yet I do not know. Oh, now I see. It's right here. I don't know if you can, yeah. So 5 millimeter and 6.9 millimeter. Well, I guess that tells me that my eyes can see the difference between 1.9 millimeters. Wow. The instructions are not, oh well. It says this hole, the 5 millimeter, install with center hub. And then the other hole, install with main gear. I think that's a roundabout way of saying that this is the bottom and that's the top. Whatever. Okay, that was very simple. So there we go. So I'm checking the rotation. It rotates right, tail goes left. Super. And in order to help installation and locking Jesus bolt, use small pliers to hold lock nut into so on and so forth. So the Jesus bolt usually is the one screw holding the entire shaft in place with the, what do you call it? Gear. The main pulley and shaft. There's one bolt holding it all together. So I need a bit of pliers here. Oh, went flying. I see my pliers here are not very good. One of the teeth is broken on one side. So we'll just choke up on that a bit. Oh no, my pliers are too thick. Okay, looks like I need one more tool. Needle nose pliers. Or not needle nose pliers. We're going to use needle nose tweezers. I would normally use needle nose pliers for a helicopter build, but this is so tiny. So we'll take these very small tweezer and use that to insert it. And yep, since everything is lined, it just slid right in, no problem. Now I have gravity holding it in. I'll rotate it. If you can see inside of there, I doubt you can, but we'll see. We'll try. You can see that there. I'm going to take the pliers or the tweezers. All right, this is going to get delicate a bit. I have no hope of trying to film any or get a good angle on this. So actually, I'm going to hold this at a 90 because I do have clearance from the bottom. So I can come up from the bottom, take this driver, there we go. Not too bad at all. Now, notably, yeah, there isn't any locking mechanism for that lock nut. So that's a nylon lock nut. There's no Loctite on this. So you have no choice but to hold it with pliers of some sort. And I think I've already established these are too big to fit. Let's try it again now that it's installed. See if I can get some kind of grip on there. Looks like I might be able to get just enough of a grip. It doesn't have to be tight, it just needs to be taut, if that makes sense. It just needs to be done up. Just, oh boy, you're going to see me fiddle around a bit. So there's the fun of the small helicopters. On a larger helicopter, this would be very simple. Like I said, it doesn't have to be very tight. Just like this doesn't clamp. All we're doing is tightening it so that it doesn't come out. But just the bolt being there is what ties it together. It's not relying on it being very tight. Okay, that's done. So we have our spacer in between the main pulley and that center block. And yeah, there's almost no play whatsoever. You do want some play, and I can barely see it move. We can hear it though. So that's perfect. I don't see anything else in this step. Let's keep going. All right, it says pull up main shaft, and we'll add the lock ring that I knew was coming. There's no flat spot on here, but that's okay. This doesn't necessarily hold it in, right? Because this is already in with that bolt there. That locks it in. So this is going to create some bit of tension. You know, we'll go ahead and do Loctite because I don't see removing this again. So notably, there are 2 grub screws on this at a 90 to each other. That makes it very secure, even without a flat spot. All right, take the excess out just so it's not going absolutely everywhere. We'll start that in the threads, but not go too far. Same thing here. I want thread lock around all of the threads, but with no excess. That's another good thing about this build towel. I'm sure I noticed in the other video, I wipe the excess thread lock on there a lot. So, you know, saves your furniture, saves your shirt, if anyone cares about that, to whom it may concern. All right, so we're going to pull up as it instructs and push down. So I'm pulling up on the shaft and pushing down with my finger on this collar. We'll tighten that. Sorry for the stomach growling. I have not eaten anything. I tend to not eat when I first wake up. I wait a bit. Okay, not crazy tight, but definitely on there good, and now there's no movement whatsoever. What does it have us doing next? Well, I want to make sure I have, the tail belt done, and I more or less skipped the part of finishing the tail boom, so we'll go ahead and do that now. What am I looking for? Here we are. I'm not quite convinced I want to thread lock this yet. You know, it's not super critical. I thread lock the other side. For non-super critical installation parts, I'll wait on the thread lock. I don't know if I'll have to take it back off again. You just never know. And experience has taught me to wait. It's nothing for me to add it, so I don't mind waiting a bit. All right, so yeah, the tension is set by sliding the belt forward and back. And there's a little room to check tension here on the side. So I'll do it up as if it's the final step. The little rods in there are aluminum, so you don't want to go very tight. And I think that's why they have it, so that you have, you know, 4 on each side, so that you can get good tension without fear of stripping your rods on the inside. All right. Well, now that's interesting. Turn that off. When the main shaft is auto-rotating, the tail doesn't continue to rotate. I hope I haven't done something wrong here. Let's go back a step or two. So, yep, that's the correct free rotation. Tailbelt pulley on the bottom side, rotating counterclockwise freely. Yeah, that's correct. So, yep, I'm not going to worry about it. This helicopter may be designed to not be able to auto-rotate, which wouldn't be unheard of for a small helicopter. All right, so we've got, let's do the mesh for the motor. It's not the final mesh. I'm going to allow myself to be able to adjust it. So you can see the motor wires here, plenty of room. There's no, the pinion's right there, the main gear's right here. It's nowhere near, I mean, it's almost impossible to get in the way. So lots of room there. I'm not going to do a perfect meshing here, although I will demonstrate how that's done. What we need is a very thin piece of paper. Not printing paper, that's very thick typically. We want paper from, let's say, an instruction manual. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to use my printing paper. I'm going to use a piece of paper from the mail, which is usually going to be cheaper. No one's going to mail you very expensive paper. Where my printing paper, I don't know if it's like 11 pound or 25 pound or whatever, but it's rather thick. So I'm going to take a piece of paper, insert it in between the gear mesh, and then make it as tight as I can reasonably with that paper in there in between. This is an old trick from the old days when I used to do RC cars. That's how we always set the mesh, with a thin piece of paper in between the gears. What that does, yeah, see, it's tight with the paper. Then take the paper out, and it's still done up. There's barely any wiggle room. So you take out the lashing, but it's not so tight that you're going to wear out the gear. Actually, it's not as tight as I want, but good enough, you get the point. Again, that's not its final setting. Just wanted to get it set to where it's operating properly. All right, so when the motor spins this way, it is rotating our main shaft this way, and the tail is going that way. I believe that is correct. Yep, and then the main blades spin. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you can't auto-rotate this helicopter. At least at my current understanding, you can't. Well, we've gotten pretty far. So the tail boom's installed, motor's installed, main gear. We've got a lot of a helicopter there. There's some notes. I'm not going to read all this. We did all this. I kind of understood what to do and did it. So we'll keep going. Belt tension. Yep, we got it. We did that. Yep, pushing on the side with a little screwdriver, see how tight it is. Yep, which I'm not going to worry about. Tail rotor rotation direction check. Yes, they have it going, well, if we're holding it this way, it's going clockwise. All right, yep, that's all correct. Main, okay, now we're getting onto the main shaft. We will set this as well. I'll set it over here. So now we need that. We'll go ahead and take the swash plate out and the blades so that we are done with that foam block. We have all of our components out now. So let's see. This is, for tuning reasons, comes factory pre-assembled with grease and Loctite. It is ready to use. So it is talking about the thrust bearings. So the roller balls and the rotational bearings, all that stuff is already done up. But this part needs to be Loctite. All right, and just like before, the printing will go on the upside or the facing side. That's the correct orientation there. Okay, so we'll take out the bolts for the main blades. Are these? Oh no. Tell me there's a... Oh good, okay. So the lock nuts here do have an indentation that locks it in place so that when you're installing your main blades, you don't have to use both a driver and pliers. You can just use the driver, hold the lock nut in place, and it will lock. All right, we have 2 bolts, 2 lock nuts, 4 washers, all for the main blades. Good. Now what I want to do is take out the screw with its washer, which it is a washer, but it's a very thick one because it's actually going against bearings. So it's a very important washer. All I want to do here is very carefully not lose anything. I want to add the Loctite, and again, since it is going through bearings, we want it only in the threads, no excess at all. About to lose my screw here. We're going to put it right back in. And insert here. And do that right up. All right. So this will go until it turns the entire shaft. Then we'll come around here, take out the other side. So, funny enough, hopefully you can't hear my stomach growling. You probably heard that. Often when I'm doing builds like this, I'll keep... Oh no, there's a washer. I think I know where that went. Yeah. Oh no, there's 2 washers. Oh my goodness, it's all falling apart. Okay, fortunately I do know where that goes. Yeah, the thick one goes here. Wait, no, the thick one goes on this bolt. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah. One goes... Man, I thought I knew. Yeah, looking at the other side, wow, no, I can't tell. I cannot tell. Good, the picture told me. So the thickest goes right up against here, and then the thinnest one goes right against it. Good. I was very afraid for a moment that I completely knackered this whole thing. But fortunately it did come from, both came from the same side. This thing is so tiny. It's technically not a washer, it's a shim. Okay, there we go. I can verify by pulling on the other side and seeing that that is the correct setup. Okay, back to it. So, I was saying about my growling stomach. I often will build until I can't stand it any longer. That's my alarm clock. Often when I do these builds, I'll just keep going. I'll build and build and build to the detriment of absolutely everything around me, including food, bathroom breaks, and whatever else happens. I'll lose myself in these. But I've always done the same thing with, say, puzzles or whatever else. I don't do it with TV. I don't care that much about TV stuff or movies. I'll eat food and take bathroom breaks when I'm watching something on TV. Which, Funny enough, I mentioned yesterday that I often forget what I'm watching on TV. And then I think I said I'll often forget what I'm watching after I've watched it. That's common. But I'll forget what I'm watching while I'm watching it, because what will happen is I'll get up to maybe get a snack. And then while cooking a snack or fixing a snack or retrieving a snack, I'll completely forget, one, sometimes that I'm even watching something, and then go do something else. And then remember sometime later, oh yeah, I was watching something. But often what I've done is I'll get up to get something and come back to resume what I was watching and be disappointed because I forgot what I was watching and didn't want to continue it. So then what that means is I'll sometimes just watch something else, because if it wasn't that interesting that I remembered, or two, that I'm disappointed when I come back, why bother? I'll just start watching something else at that point. Okay, this is tiny delicate. I'm glad. This has tiny little, these are straight slot screws. I forget for the moment what they're called, standard, holding in this bearing. So I'll demonstrate. It's just a roller ball that freely rotates in there. I don't want to scratch it. Yeah, it can just completely rotate around. It's symmetrical and it'll go in all directions. There's no specific orientation for it. And these two little screws retain that structure. The ball is it's held in by Delrin, possibly, maybe nylon, but most likely Delrin. Delrin is more dense than nylon. They may be the same thing, but with different brand names. In any case, it's already done. I don't have to do anything. However, all of these ball links, as in all helicopters, must be removed and locked tight, or thread locked. So take them out one by one. Be nice to yourself. Don't take them all out. I don't know if they're all exactly the same or not, but I have absolutely no intention in finding out if there's any minor difference. We'll take one out at a time. Reinstall. This is metal to metal. Wipe off the excess a little, but no concern. In fact, I'm not as much removing excess as I am just making sure that it's completely saturated in all of the threads all the way around. All right, those two balls done. If you find yourself cross-threading these, one of the things that can help, which is something I've already demonstrated, is using your fingers on the shaft this way. It allows you to have a much finer feel. And what I'm doing actually is rotating it back, and then, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, I'll rotate it back enough until there's a little pop. I'll be quiet. There you go. Now I can go forwards. What that does is properly set the threads so that I know that I'm going in straight. And then I'm going in a clockwise pattern, so I know what I've already finished, what I've already done. So I'm doing this somewhat quickly, but I've done this many, many times. See, pop, and then if I can't rotate it very easily with my fingers like this, I know it's cross thread. So little tiny details like that will make this a lot quicker. So this is going to be just a standard slot. When you're working on micro little stuff like this, use the absolute largest thing that will fit. You want it to go inside. You want it to actually fit inside, but don't use something that's too small. because that will stress the metal around it. Use the largest so that it has the best possible grip among its entire surface. All right. This is the anti-rotation pin. All right, that's in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls and an anti-rotation pin, all thread locked. Great. So now, what is next? It talks about these. So these are already screwed on, and that is very loose. That is not Loctite. We'll take care of that now. Keep going back and forth between Loctite and thread lock. Thread lock is what we're doing by adding this blue glue stuff. Thread lock is the action. Loctite is a brand. I imagine most people know that. I've mentioned it more than once. I prefer to talk about the action rather than a brand. Same thing, using my fingers. I want to feel the threads. All right, done up tight. Same for the other side. I'm leaving everything completely assembled. Now, this is already through 2 separate bearings. Adding the thread lock in this manner, when it's already past the bearings, ensures that it remains clean. You don't want to put thread lock on and then, if you have the choice that is, put it through the bearings. If you can put it through the bearings first and then add thread lock, that's better. There's less chance of it getting inside of the bearings. Okay, so now that is tight. All right, so blade grips, that is very tight. Almost no play. Done and done. Now it has us measuring these at 35.4. We're going to be dangerous. We're just going to keep going here. All right. So now we are already installing this onto the main shaft. Sweet. Let's see. Again, we have a bolt going through with a nylon lock nut. Does it have a machined set so that we don't need pliers? Yes, it does. Wonderful. And then let's get our helicopter back. I wish it had us installed the skids already, because it just rests on the tail fin. It's not going to hurt it, but it just keeps it from resting flat. So let's do the swatch plate first. Impossible to install afterwards. Haha. And then our... Okay, why is that tight? Well, it probably should be tight. This entire thing is a clamp. So yeah, tight is good. Oh, is there? Yes, there is a screw there. So, I answered my own question. This entire kit has all the screws installed already often, so this is no different. I didn't even see them because everything is black. There are 2 screws here that clamp onto the main shaft. I really like that. Completely takes out the play. So you have the main bolt going through here that ties it to the main shaft, and then these 2 screws clamp onto the main shaft. So that's very good engineering. Takes out all of the play. It's not even just to secure it, but keeps everything tight and accurate. Again, this isn't just a special edition heli for the fun of it. This is a high performance precision 3D helicopter. It is a Tareq edition after all, and for those who do not know, Tareq Al Sadi is, I'm probably going to get this completely wrong, but I believe he is Arabian, like United Arab Emirate, UAE. I don't know. A friend of mine I was showing one of his videos, and he can read all of the script that was on Tareq's website. I don't want to butcher it. I don't remember what it's called. I mean, probably Arabic, I would imagine, but I don't actually know. I prefer to not speak of something as if I knew it when I don't. Anyway, the point is, he is one of the world's best RC helicopter pilots, bar none. I don't believe there's any contention or disagreement in that. If you have not watched his helicopter piloting skills, do check out his website, Tareq. If you Google that, it will most likely bring him up. He is prolific on YouTube. And I expect products with his name on it will be high performance, and I have never been disappointed so far. So, I did not add thread lock on the clamp in case I need to take this off again. It's not a big deal. It's easy to add. And, yep, we've got everything as it should be. We'll move on. What's next? I have no idea what they're talking about. It's talking about... what? I have no idea. It's talking about adding thread lock onto something, but it doesn't make any sense. Not to me, anyway. Sorry for the pause, but I have no clue. Oh, it's an option. I see. Okay. So instead of having these, what would be referred to as DFC arms, you could have just the direct ball link. Whatever. I'm not going to do any of that. I see no reason to. So this is going to go down to here like that. I'm just going to carefully use pliers to pop these links on. The only real danger here would be scratching this beautifully anodized aluminum. So that's why you want to be careful. It's not going to hurt anything otherwise. So, yep, there we go. DFC links on the swatch plate. Done and done. Cool. So next we have the anti-rotation guide. So I noticed earlier the anti-rotation guide seems to screw right here. But what's confusing about that is I thought that's where the servos go. So I mean, I have no idea. I could be completely wrong. Maybe the servos don't go there. But that is what it shows. The anti-rotation guide screwing on right here. So I'm going to take, I noticed there's a step here. I bet the servos do go here. They just go on top of the anti-rotation guide. So I'm not going to thread lock that, but I will go ahead and install it. Well, I'm trying to be careful so I don't send these screws and washers flying everywhere. You see my, there we go. See, the towel doing its job. Okay, so I'm going to take the screw with the washer, put them together again. The anti-rotation bracket, which I did sand, so it's nice and smooth, except for here, I didn't do there. I'll pop the screws on here, like so. Get the swash plate like so, and then carefully hold everything together. This is much easier on a larger helicopter. I mean, it's a larger structure, so it's just simpler. Bit of a fight to get all this stuff aligned, being so tiny. I'm just going back and forth so I don't bind the carbon fiber into the aluminum. And yeah, that's actually engineered perfectly. It fits right in. There we go. Cool. So now we have, oh man, that is completely precise and it's very smooth. So again, good engineering. There's no binding whatsoever, but there's no movement. So it's a precise fit, and the materials are also high quality. So there's not scrubbing and rubbing. Right, move on. We have arms. Cool. So these are little precision arms to keep the swash plate moving nice and neatly. And I guess we'll see these optional bits that we're talking about in here. So this is box tube bag 13. Fiberless hybrid head system. And I think what they're talking about is fiberless DFC, direct flight control. So we could use these instead for the head. We're not going to do any of that at all. I don't want to. I like the simple stuff. So yeah, I think this is better. What is this has bearings in it. I guess that's the main difference. So you could put this on here with the other rods and remove the bearings. Sure, whatever. I don't know. Okay, that's great. I'm sure an engineer could explain why one is better than the other. I honestly don't even want to think about it. I think what they have pre-set up is just fine. Yep, so all of these balls, links, this threads, all of that goes in. All I want are these two arms. And these are just assembled with a push pin. These two brass washers and these two screws. And the way they'll go together, well, now that's interesting. Oh, I see. No, I don't see. I still don't see. I think I see and then I lose it. Okay. So there's two more screws there. I see. So if you wanted to, okay, the clamps here, they're screwed on. That's done. Then I could take the DFC arms and put them on there, and that would be done. The option is to add these. And then I would need the two shorter balls that are in here. Let's look at that. Let's decide what we want. So those are the two long ones. I think I will add that. So we'll take out the two clamping screws that are in here. Set that aside. And now all we're doing, I'm going to do thread lock right away. If I can get this to align properly. I may be hungry, I don't know. Okay. Screw that into the side. Oh, I almost, like I could feel the thread crossing. So I stopped and backed up. Probably because I'm not straight on there. There we go. Get that fairly tight. Other side, same thing. So what this does, I've been quiet here. This, these extra arms here help to keep the swash plate movement as precise as possible. Everything lined up without any play whatsoever. Minimal play. Okay, so instead of the clamping screws going directly into the clamp and that's that, this will go through here. Go look at the instructions, get it just right. This goes here, brass washer here, and then it goes into the clamp. And essentially, I guess you could say it squares everything up and it pivots along with the swash plate, giving a little extra support for the swash plate. I bet I have something wrong. I may not. No, I don't. Okay, I don't. I'm trying to decide, does it go on the inside or outside? Ah, I have dropped everything. That's okay, I'm on a towel. So I think it goes on the inside of the DFC, direct flight control, which technically this isn't direct flight control now because we're adding these extra arms. Follower arm is what they call it. Follower arm. All right, I've already got the thread lock on there. However, since this is a clamping part, the thread lock isn't all that necessary. But being on a spinny bit where we're controlling stuff, it's not a bad idea. Okay, let's take the driver off. I think that's making it more confusing. I was trying to leave the driver on to make it easier on me. And I'd love to say that filming this is making it more difficult, but no, I'm just making it more difficult on my own. Okay, I've got it lined up there. Okay, it's being so small is what's making it difficult. So, I don't know how well the camera can show that. The arm goes through, attaches to the ball over here. And this being plastic and small, I might be able to, no. Okay, I am going to use bowling pliers for this because I don't want to tear my fingers up trying to get it on. There we are. All right, if that makes any sense. So I only have one, there's two installed, two to be installed. So goes through there. This screw is clamping on there, providing a pivot point, and it follows. As you can see, it spins with it. So it's just an extra bit of support and precision for the swash plate control mechanism. It makes it optional, so that's cool. I don't know if I've ever seen a kit come with both DFC and follower arm options in the one kit, and then the instructions include both. I haven't read in the instructions if it talks about the benefit of either. I may look around for that later. Honestly, I don't think it's something that someone could sit there and say, oh yes, well, you know, this will reduce the load by 45 newtons, so I will use this instead of this other option. Like, you know, I think it's going to come down more to flight style. Now, are there people who do know the difference? Yes, absolutely. Tareq al-Saudi probably knows the difference. I do not. I'm not at his level. I will not pretend to be at his level. But I do know that a lot of helicopters have this follower arm. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, all of my SAB Heli Division helicopters have this, except for the 380. So I do know it's common. And it is a precision type of thing. So that's why I'm adding it, mainly because a lot of my other helicopters have it. So it makes sense to me. But I think because it's so small, that's why they give you the option that it's a bit less necessary in this case. And I think that would say that this is an option for hard 3D, so that you have precise control. That's why I say it's out of my realm of expertise, but most certainly does not hurt anything. These little plastic arms probably added all together, you know, a gram, perhaps 3. Certainly looks the part. Everything rotates freely. Everything's working quite well. Very nice. Lovely. All right, so the head is complete. That's the entire head. All we have now are the 3 servos. I think, let's see. Yep, it's servo time. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit because I want to see. Yep, there it is. So it shows the anti-rotation guide going in front of the servo. So the servos do go there. All right, so I think we're going to let this video be a little short. And I'm going to stop right there. Since we did get pretty far bit done, now we have almost the complete airframe. Booms installed, tail assembly is complete. The main part, the head, is all complete. That's done. We've got the ESC installed, some of the electronics. All right, let's stop here. I think we'll have some breakfast and we'll come back to this either later today or even another day. Depends on what we get into. Yeah? Okay. And I'll clean up off camera. See ya.